hope you're ready. This is going to be exciting.
Here we go, career starts up to go. Green flag is out and we're underway.
Just a few laps into this. Oh, the 37's getting loose. Oh, and he saves it. Oh, they're going 3 wide.
We've got a 5-way fight for the win of this race coming to 4 laps to go.
Well, good evening, race fans. It is Friday night, and that means it is time to kick off the weekend with some truck racing here as the drivers of the SAVE22 Premier Truck Series head to Dover, Delaware to take on the Monster Mile. Last week's winner, Mark Whitley, will look to go back-to-back and grab win number 3 on the season and cement himself as the early championship favorite here this evening at Dover. It's a fast track. Calamity is always lurking around every corner, and we're going to be bringing you all the action live right here on VSPEED. Thank you for spending your Friday evening with us. My name is Daniel Cunningham. Alongside me up here in the booth, Logan Threlkeld, Lucas Lyons running the production truck this evening, and camera angles courtesy of the legendary Dougie Beard. Logan, good to have you back up here in the booth after your week off last week. So welcome back here. How you feeling as we get ready to watch this race here at Dover?
Feeling good, Daniel. Ready to put on a show here tonight at Dover Motor Speedway. This one always a fan favorite. It might not be the favorite among the drivers, but we will have our shining star at the end of 110 laps tonight.
Indeed, we will. Always a favorite track for sure. Let's go ahead and take a look for the first time here this evening at our points standings after race number 4. Your top 3 drivers there highlighted in green, Mark Whitley, Patrick Drabick, and Charles Abert. They are locked into the playoffs by way of those wins, just as long as they make 7 out of the 10 regular season races. Jeremy Gardner, the highest driver in points that does not have a win, with Levi McCarty, Jake Ellingson, Michael Kostick, Eldon Stewart, Craig Bontrager, and Jamie Barkis currently your top 10 in points. Still only 24 points from 4th all the way down to 20th place there, Logan Sturgeon. And with the drop weeks factored in, these drivers definitely have quite a bit of opportunity still to make up points, work their way into the playoffs. Let's go ahead and take a look at our schedule as well so that we can see exactly where we're headed after this race at Dover. Next week, going to Rockingham, going to the Rock, Truck Series went back there in real life this year back in April. We're going to be going there as well. Watkins Glen completes the first half of our schedule. Got Darlington, Wilkesboro, Michigan to round out the regular season. Those playoff races at Texas, Richmond, Bristol, and Homestead, setting our championship for Phoenix. So quite a bit of variety on the schedule. Got a lot of different tracks coming up. It is going to be a good one, Logan.
That it is going to be a blast as we make our way through it. And as you notice there, after Rockingham, we have a week off there from the 6th on. And that week we'll actually be hosting a Go Locker Racing fundraiser race on Wednesday, October 8th. So definitely want to tune into that. You can get on there. You can sign up to race. You can watch. You can donate and potentially win prizes. Go check out the Goat Locker Racing Facebook page for more details to be posted on that shortly. And, just keep that in mind. Wednesday, October 8th, that's the same time as what we normally see that Next Gen series, the other Premier series throughout the week. so there's no excuse to miss it. You'll have previous race winners, previous champions, all of the sorts competing in that one. But let's talk about what we've got tonight, and that's Dover Motor Speedway, this magic mile here. The Miles the Monster is what they call it. 24 degrees of banking in the corners, 9 degrees of banking on the front and the back stretch. That makes this track unique in itself, in its self-clearing capabilities with wrecks. That means you'll see most of these cars work their way up the track, then right back down to the bottom. So you have to keep that in mind as you're navigating and trying to work through just any potential circumstances here tonight. And what we're going to have, I've already mentioned it, 110 laps on the board, 35 miles an hour down pit road, 3 tire sets available, 2 green-white checkered attempts if we need it. 100% fuel here will get us about 70 to 75 laps on a green flag run.
And really interesting too with that fuel run, that 70 to 75 laps, something that we do see come into play here on occasion at Dover is fuel strategy. So be interesting to see if we do get an early caution that maybe puts these drivers just outside of that window, if they'll actually be able to stretch it a little bit, save some fuel, make it. This track is the only track that I ever won a Premier Series truck race at, and I did it because of fuel strategy. So that was, that's definitely something that'll come into play here. But for now, though, these drivers are finishing up their qualifying runs, and we are going to have a pole award to hand out. That is the Jam Printing and Promotions Pole Award. And since forming in 2013, Jam has contributed printing and promotional sponsorships to more than 60 local nonprofits, with a primary focus on organizations that assist veterans, women, and children. They have been with Goat Locker Racing since the very beginning, local and veteran certified. When they do well, they do good in the community. And that Jam Printing and Promotions Pole Award winner is none other than that 77 of Mark Whitley, starting on pole yet again here in this Friday Night Truck Series. Joining him on the front row to his outside is going to be Levi McCarty in that 24 truck. Second row is going to be Jamie Mullins in the 66, Jake Ellingson to his outside in the 27. Rolling off in fifth is going to be Regis Clark with Michael Kostick to his outside in sixth. Starting in seventh, the 07 of Patrick Drabick with Big Daddy Jeremy Gardner rolling off in eighth. Rounding out your top 10 here this evening, it'll be Craig Bontrager and James Goshen.
Starting out in P11, the man, the myth, the legend, the 15 of Jamie Barkas starts out next to the 33 of Tyler Justice, taking up 12. The 1 of Eldon Stewart starts out in the 13th starting position next to the 25 of James Kaufman. Charles Abert takes the 7 to a 15th starting spot next to the 117 of Warren Clayton in 16th. 17th will belong to Daniel Parks in the 71 machine next to the 68 of Stephen McDonald in 18th. Last but not least, in our top 20 is the 99 of Brandon Wallace next to the 36 of George Jewell. In just a couple more rows here, we'll have the 21st spot going to Michael Seymour in the 37. Jamie Libke will be running our race control here tonight. One more driver will be the 64 of Matt Knights, which should move up a row to be beside the 21 or the 37 of Michael Seymour. But Knights will make up the last row there.
And that is your full starting grid for 110 laps here tonight at Dover Motor Speedway. And, Logan, I can't help but look at that 77 starting on pole yet again. Whenever he gets that track position and starts up front, a very tough driver to beat. The rest of this field might have their work cut out for him already here this evening.
And that will very likely be the case. It's not easy to pass it all, considering just how difficult Dover is. But you put that 77 at the front of the pack, he can make this truck just as wide as this very narrow racing surface.
Indeed, he can. But quite a few challengers that will be ready to try to take that number 1 position away from him. And as you can see, lights already out on the pace truck. We are getting ready to fire these drivers off for 110 laps here tonight at Dover. Restart zone there as they exit turn number 4. Barney with the green flag in hand. And we are underway here from Dover Motor Speedway. Already as these drivers head through turns 1 and 2, Mark Whitley able to clear the 24 of Levi McCarty for the lead. Looked like maybe a little bit of contact with the wall there out of the 24 as they came off of turn 2, but put the 77 leading this first lap. Jake Ellingson, though, right behind. Top 3 have already broken away, but from 4th place on back, it is an absolute hornet's nest. Michael Kostick able to clear for the number 4 spot, but they're still side by side on farther back.
That's Craig Bontrager and Jeremy Gardner duking it out for that 8th position. Bontrager on that low line gets the advantage for the moment, but here comes Gardner with the freight train move to the outside, ducks back down to the bottom. Can't quite challenge Bontrager for that spot. They'll have to settle back in for 9th and hold on to that as the battle is on behind with Eldon Stewart and Tyler Justice for the 11th position. Don't get them mixed up. They're both light green and black. But here goes that one of Eldon Stewart. Gets the advantage through the bottom of 3 and 4.
A little bit further up ahead of them, the boss man there, Patrick Drabick in that 07, able to get around Jamie Mullins for position. Craig Bontrager going to try to follow his way through as well. Mullins kind of stuck up there in that high lane, just losing a couple of spots here. Already down 5 positions from where he started early on. Jeremy Gardner now on the back tailgate of that 66 truck. He's going to try to find a way around as well. As everybody's starting to try to get single filed here, try to get down on the bottom. Don't want to burn those tires up too early on here.
Good clean start gets us to these single file situations. This is where we'll see who's got what it takes to make it to that lap 70 for that fuel strategy to come into play. What's it going to be like? Where are they going to cut it if we see this green flag stay out long enough?
Yeah, we thought about 3 wide there for just a moment as you saw Jeremy Gardner to the inside of the 66 of Jamie Mullins. Eldon Stewart was looking inside, but he gets into the 66. Mullins into the wall hard. Looks like some pretty significant damage, but keeps it rolling straight. And he is going to be able to keep going here. No caution out, but that truck is absolutely destroyed on the right front. And it looked like the steering maybe broke on that truck as well. He's going to end up having to tow that back to the pits.
Let's see if we can get a replay on that, as we do have an active caution now on the track. We'll hold on to that replay momentarily, try to find out where this one came from. Not entirely
I believe it
here.
I believe it may have actually been because of Jamie Mullins after that initial contact. The 66 of Mullins going down the front straightaway. This is where I mentioned that I think the steering may have broken. So we'll go back and we'll unpack what happened here. There's the 3 wide that Eldon Stewart was looking for just a moment. Didn't quite make it work there. But here's where Eldon Stewart gets along inside, ducks down to the bottom again, almost thinking about 3 wide. But after this initial contact that we saw, you can see even there on that initial angle, the right front tire just not, it doesn't even look like it's making contact with the racing surface. And as he comes down the front straightaway here, it looks like he was just trying to pull down and maybe tow off the racing surface. And it sounded like when I was watching it initially that maybe like the steering or something broke on it and just not able to get it stopped and turned in time.
That would be the most logical reason here. That turned down very aggressive, so that tie rod in finally breaking loose is, man, just shoved into the corner there. The one of Eldon Stewart misjudging that braking zone, maybe came up a little bit too high on that corner entry.
Yeah, definitely not the night that the 66 was looking for. Had already dropped a few spots prior to that incident. But yeah, an unfortunate end to the night for him, as that's going to put him definitely off the track here at this point. But early caution, and so far it doesn't look like we have any takers on pit road. So while we have a quick moment here, let's go ahead and thank one of our awesome sponsors that we've got here in this series, and that's going to be the title sponsor of this series, SAVE22. Definitely want to give them a shout out. They are a 501c3 organization dedicated to preventing suicide among veterans, active duty personnel, and first responders. Their unwavering mission extends to 4 critical pillars: shield, assist, volunteer, and educate. Is save22.vet. We appreciate all of their support here at GoatLock.
So looking back at some statistics here, last season winner Jake Ham, normally the 85, not making an appearance here tonight in the 85. That would be James Goshen. Ham not here tonight to defend that second win potentially at Dover, so we will see a new winner this season. Mark Whitley starting out very, very well. Started on the pole. He's held control of this one so far. He will elect to take the top lane on this restart. It's a little bit different strategy here. I like the call, though. Top lane, you can get a lot more momentum down into turn 1. Maximize that entry as well as fight off that drive from the inside line coming out of turn 2.
Yeah, and one thing that I have seen here at Dover is that inside line, specifically on restarts, when you're on tires that have gone through a full heat cycle, as these drivers have a tendency to get quite a bit of wheel spin on that bottom lane. So be interesting to see here as they get ready to fire back off if that does hit any of these drivers. But the field going to be in control of that 77 of Mark Whitley. He's led every lap so far here this evening. Levi McCarty on the inside. Ellingson and Kostick make up your second row behind them. So they head towards that restart zone. Green flag in the air, and Mark Whitley with a huge jump up on that high groove. He is able to put that to good use. McCarty to second, Ellingson to third. Kostick is going to be side by side with Patrick Drabick for the fourth spot here.
The 07 Jam Printing and Promotion truck trying to work his way up to a podium spot. Kostick kind of cuts the nose just a little bit shy of where Drabick might have been wanting to enter. And here we go with Regis Clark right behind as well, just waiting to pick out which line is going to get him an extra position. Kostick able to nose back out ahead of Drabick for the time being. Whitley, McCarty, Ellingson already have separated themselves from the pack exponentially here. That is a massive gap, up over a second and a quarter already, and we're just 2 or 3 laps into the green flag run.
And that was really similar to what we saw on that initial start of the race too. Those top 3 drivers broke away from the pack in pretty quick fashion, and then it was basically fourth on back, the best of the rest from that point. Let's take a look a little further back here. That is James Kaufman and George Jewell that are battling for position. Charles Abert behind as well. You can also see Brandon Wallace back there in the background trying to make a move on Warren Clayton, try to get around him for that position. But George Jewell here, another one of those drivers trying to work his way up to the front. And yeah, just a lot of side by side. As you can see, it gets really tight on the exit of 2. Clayton almost making contact with the wall there, but back up front, a little closer to the front of the pack. This battle for fourth on back is still going on, and Regis Clark is starting to heat up the back bumper of Patrick Drabick, and Drabick starting to put some more pressure on Kostick here for the 4th spot.
It's only a matter of time as we've got one coming up from behind. That's going to be Jeremy Gardner, I believe. Or Craig Bontrager, rather. The 49 makes a move to the inside of Regis Clark. I thought he was going to go for a move to the inside of Patrick Drabick even. Fortunately, loses that momentum, doesn't get to make it work, but he knows that that opportunity is there. If he can find a way to make it stick next time he goes for the attempt, it could, entirely be a different outcome. Here goes the 85 of Goshen to the inside of Tyler Justice, as he's going to make that pass look pretty easily down there on the bottom.
Yeah, Yeah, Goshen, really the first driver that we've seen be able to easily complete those passes. You know, it's something that you touched on in pre-race, Logan, is that it can be hard to pass here. You get that momentum up on the high groove, and it's just so hard to make it work, to make that pass on the bottom. But another driver that just did that is Jake Ellingson for that number 2 position, able to get around Levi McCarty there. So put the 27 truck up to P2. See if he can make any ground on our race leader, Mark Whitley.
The momentum will continue to flow in his direction. It could very well happen, but it's going to come down to who can save tires the best between Whitley and Ellingson. That will be the deciding factor in who comes out on top after that battle starts to form. But here we are a little bit further back with Jeremy Gardner now, the 42. To the inside and through of Michael Kostick. Eldon Stewart will look to follow here down into turn 3. Gets door to door with Kostick. Kostick moves up the track. Stewart holds it down to the bottom that time, but gets loose out of 4. Kostick charges around the outside one more time. Oh, nearly contact between the two as Kostick goes way up the track. And that gets Stewart clear this time by.
Yeah, Michael Kostick on a bit of a free fall right now, was running up in that 4th position just a few laps ago, has fallen all the way back to 9th, only down 2 spots from where he started, but 5 from his highest running position. So struggling with grip just a little bit on that number 3 truck. As you can see, Tyler Justice there in the 33 directly behind, starting to close in and put a little bit of pressure as well. So have to see if Kostick can get that ship righted, get it going back in the right direction as we head through the later stages of this run. A driver that's usually pretty good with saving some tire and keeping something for the end of the race.
Typically seeing Kostick in a position for those late race maneuvers to be made. As you see one now, the 49 of Bontrager through the inside here of Regis Clark. That's going to be up to that top 5 position for the 49 now. And on a tear, Craig Bontrager is right now. He will be looking to hunt down the 07 of Patrick Dravick, see what he can do, but he's got about a second before he gets to the back bumper there.
Yeah, Craig Bontrager, up 4 spots from where he started on the race. So on the move early on here as we are closing in on the 1/4 mark already of this race. Doesn't take a long time to click off a bunch of laps here at Dover, especially if you get some long green flag runs in. And up front, the battle hasn't really changed at all. Mark Whitley still leading by about half a second here over Jake Ellingson in that number 2 position. Ellingson, one of our drivers that does have his webcam on this evening, that number 27 machine. As we take a quick look here, you can see focused up, trying to chase down that race leader. Also showing off a few of the Goat Locker memorabilia and apparel, that championship belt in the background. So he's done a good job so far hanging with Mark Whitley. They seem to be pretty even on lap times. One lap, Ellingson will be about a half a tenth faster. The next lap, Whitley will match and go about a half tenth faster. So definitely a close battle brewing between those two. Speaking of close battles, Jeremy Gardner now tried to put some pressure on Regis Clark for that number 6 spot. He's got the momentum off of turn 4. He's going to look to the inside in 1 and 2.
Sends it down to the bottom. The 8 leaves the door open. Got the nose clear. And a little bit of a kind of a slide there out of turn number 2 for Gardner, but able to completely control it. No harm, no foul. And up to that 6th spot goes the 42. Eldon Stewart is still battling with Michael Kostick just behind this, as Kostick is looking to take away the inside line here. Oh, nearly contact is made.
There was contact.
Eldon Stewart up into the wall.
That was almost a carbon copy of what happened between Eldon Stewart and the 66 of Jamie Mullins, just on corner exit instead of entry. Same hit angle, same everything. That right front of that one truck is absolutely destroyed. Eldon Stewart now showing a meatball flag. Have to go back and take another look at this one as we were watching along as it happened. Like Kostic had been putting some pressure on here on that one truck, had the momentum down on the inside lane, just trying to hug that bottom. And man, it's really hard to tell from that angle if maybe the one cut down just a little bit or maybe thought he was clear, but yeah, just hard hit into the wall for Eldon Stewart there.
It didn't quite look like Kostic had anywhere else to go. This will be a good camera angle for that. Yeah, the left side tires stayed about 6 inches off of the apron there of the three machines. So just a miscalculation, it seems, from the one truck. Unfortunate into the night there. That will be certainly a meatball flag worth at least a couple minutes, as we've seen the 66 of Jamie Mullins, who was the incident that brought out the first caution, has already been down in pit lane for over 12 minutes.
Yeah, definitely a tough end to the evening. Battle for 7th, though, is on a little bit farther up front between the 8 of Regis Clark and the 3 of Michael Kostic. And we talked about Kostic was falling back there, and we saw what just happened between him and the 1 of Eldon Stewart. But Kostic now closing in, showing a little bit better speed here as we get some laps on these tires. As you can see, some of these guys are really fighting loose off of turn 4 specifically. Regis Clark, not the first driver that I've actually seen with that big moment off of turn 4, which leads to something that we haven't really talked about, and that is the weather here this evening. So we can take a look there. You see track temp 96 degrees, so not the warmest track temp that I've seen here at Dover, but something that I had a couple of drivers actually message me about pre-race is the wind speed. It's like a 22-mile-an-hour wind that they've got out there. Said that it's kind of blowing the trucks around a little bit. So that coupled with a fairly warm track temp, these guys are going to start struggling for grip as these tires get some laps on them.
We've just taken a look here. Kostic able to get around Regis Clark, now up into the 7th spot. Jeremy Gardner has been able to walk away from that battle, however. He is up ahead of Kostic by nearly 2.5 seconds, closing in on Craig Bontrager for the top 5. And Bontrager shortly behind Patrick Drabick for 4th. It's another second to our top 3. It'll be Levi McCarty there in 3rd still. Jacob Ellingson, Mark Whitley making up the 1st spot. Let's keep an eye right here as we've got this battle really starting to form up between Bontrager, Drabick, and Gardner. Keep an eye on that 49, sandwiched in the middle. Be interesting to see what he's going to be able to do to get around the 07 and get away from the 42 of Jeremy Gardner, who has found his speed here in the middle of this long run.
Indeed, he has something that we see out of Jeremy Gardner with that long run speed pretty much every series that he races in. And also Craig Bontrager, no stranger to the front of the field himself. He's really been putting the pressure on Patrick Drabick. It caught him pretty easily, but as they say, catching him is one thing, passing him is another. So it looks like he got really tight there off of turn number 2. He's into the wall, multiple hits to the wall for the 49. That's going to allow Jeremy Gardner to get by and put Gardner now up into the top 5. And man, it looked like maybe that 49 of Bontrager just got a little arrow tight or something on corner exit. And it was up the track she went. Back behind that battle, another good side-by-side battle brewing. That is Regis Clark and Tyler Justice. Tyler trying to go the long way around on the outside to get around that 8 truck.
And then you've got the 85 of James Goshen right in the picture as well, trying to find a line to get around both drivers potentially in one corner. To dive it down to the bottom, that leaves that top line open for... That is going to be the 15 of Jamie Barkis. If he can close that gap up, make this a 4-horse race, this could get very interesting very, very quickly. Regis Clark holds off the 33 of Tyler Justice, but for how long? How long does Tyler Justice wait before he might give the bumper a little shove down into the corner? We've got one down the track. It's the 85 of James Goshen. Jamie Barkis does get around with ease.
And that's about the third or fourth time now that I've seen James Goshen with that big slide off of turn 4 and just having to chase it all the way down the track to get that truck saved. So really nice job to hang on to it there and continue on as this battle for position continues on as well between Tyler Justice, Regis Clark, and now also, as you mentioned, Jamie Barkis up into the top 10 for the first time here this evening. He's going to try to take advantage if either of these two drivers makes a mistake directly in front of him.
Looks like back up towards the front, the Jeremy Gardner Patrick Drabick battle has come to an end just as quickly as it came up. Gardner able to get around the 07. Believe he took the bottom lane down there through turn 3 and 4. Was able to get some separation down the front stretch. And now here we stand. Just one lap later, the 42 inching closer to a podium spot here, where we are used to seeing Jeremy Gardner ending up in some of these short track races.
A really strong run so far for Gardner as he is now up into that 4th spot. Speaking of drivers that are on the move, one of the big bosses over here at Goat Locker, that's Jamie Barkis. He's able to get around Tyler Justice, put Barkis up into that 9th position now, trying to find a way to get up there to Regis Clark. And also, a bit of a new paint scheme there for Jamie Barkis this week, sporting one of the Goat Locker sponsors. That's MK Fire Designs that he has got on that truck here this evening. MK Fire Design, they've got some really cool, I don't even know how you would describe them, Logan. You saw it at the Sim Expo. You'd probably be better able to describe it with the, like the wood burning things that they do. But one of our awesome sponsors here at Goat Locker, they're the title sponsor of our Saturday night GT3 series. You can catch that here on VSPEED tomorrow night.
Yeah, very cool artwork that they had on display there at the Chicago Sim Expo. Very, very intricately put together, very well made. It was a shame I didn't get to take it home with me, but somebody did, I believe, and a very, very nice piece to hang on the wall. Jamie Barkis doing a great job representing MK Fire Designs as he is trying to work his way further through the top 10 at the back door for 8th. That is still the 8 of Regis Clark holding down that spot. We are coming up on a potential pit window to be open. I don't know when these drivers we will expect to see them down pit road, but it is at this point, yeah, mathematically it's open. If they want to come down for full fuel and 4 tires, they could make it to the end of this 110 lap race.
They could indeed, as we get close to that halfway point of the race. There were a handful of drivers that did come down and pit on that caution that we had, pretty much from 14th place. Stephen McDonald on back through the rest of your lead lap cars. They came down pit road, so they can go about 10 laps farther than everybody else at this point if they want to try to play a little strategy game. But, you know, talking about the green flag pit stops, something that we haven't mentioned tonight, this racetrack is probably one of the hardest pit lanes to get on and off of in all of NASCAR. So, you know, only a 35-mile-an-hour pit road that these drivers are going to be contending with if and when those green flag stops begin. But I'll tell you one driver that's not thinking about that right now is that 42 of Jeremy Gardner, as he has caught Levi McCarty for that podium position. Oh, we do have a caution out on the track. That was the 07 of Patrick Drabick that I just saw doing a barrel roll down the front straightaway. Good grief, that truck rather, is absolutely destroyed as Pat ends up towing to the pits. I did not catch what initially happened other than just his truck up in the air.
Not sure myself, but it looks like the 68 of Stephen McDonald also ends up in this. Oh my goodness. Just a slide. It looks like, I'm thinking more of a hardware malfunction for the 07.
Oh, good grief.
Hit Abert just right into that passenger side door. That's going to take out the 7, the 07, the 68 of McDonald again with heavy damage.
Yeah, we're riding on board here with Pat, and no, I don't think that was a hardware malfunction. I just think his steering was broke after those 2 hits that he took there. And it looked like maybe even Michael, I couldn't tell if that was Michael Kostick that maybe got a piece of it as well. But yeah, we've seen so many drivers with those big slides off of turn 4, and that was what initially started the entire incident. And yeah, just looking at the 3 truck now going down pit road, the entire left side of that truck is beat up. So definitely, yeah, you can see there just nowhere for Kostick to go. Tried to even go up into the wall just to avoid hitting the Drabic pretty much square on right there. So yeah, that is going to give a meatball flag to Drabic, Abert, Stephen McDonald, not with a meatball, but with some pretty heavy damage, and Michael Kostick with some heavy damage as well out of all of that.
But that does bring us right to the halfway mark of this race. So you will see everybody elect to bring it down pit road. On their way out already, Mark Whitley got that #1 pit stall, and that played a big factor here in staying out ahead of Jacob Ellingson, who is just behind on pit exit. Levi McCarty falls out in 3rd with Jeremy Gardner up in 4th.
Yeah, and actually just a bit of housekeeping here. I just saw Patrick Drabic mention in the text chat in the session, screen froze, had no idea where I was at on track. So you indeed called it, even with the slide and the incident there. Definitely a bit of a hardware malfunction there for the 07 of Patrick Drabic. So another just unfortunate set of circumstances here for one of our guys that's been up in the top 5 most of the evening.
The steering wheel staying fully locked left for as long as it did was a key note there. That was unlike any typical issue you would have with saving a slide, but here we are, 1 caution later, 2 only so far this race. We're going to rack them back up, try it again, and see just how long we can go this time. Daniel, what are your expectations for the back half of this race? Do we see somebody try to work their way back up to the front? Do we see somebody that might fall back here?
Really curious now with Jeremy Gardner having a little bit better track position than what he started off with on either of those first 2 runs. Will he be able to mount a challenge to this 77 of Mark Whitley? He's been pretty much untouchable so far this evening, but we're about to find out as the pace truck has pulled off. Front row of Whitley, Jake Ellingson on the inside. Whitley, the control truck, he's going to put the hammer down, gets another really nice jump here. He's able to clear for the lead. They are side by side. They're thinking about 3 wide there for just a moment. Ellingson able to clear for second, but put Gardner up to that number 3 spot.
Levi McCarty not faring well on that restart. Fell down to the bottom. He was the driver looking to possibly make it a 3 wide situation. Gardner able to power around the outside. And now here he goes on attack of the 27. Jacob Ellingson will not have any time to rest here. It's going to be all or nothing whenever you got the 42 filling up the rearview mirror.
Regis Clark now back up into the top 5. He is trying to put some pressure on Levi McCarty for that number 4 spot. Jamie Barkish just continuing his slow, steady climb up through the field. He's now up to 6th. See a couple new players here in the top 10 as well, with James Kaufman and Brandon Wallace now working their way up into the top 10. Wallace, that last driver in the top 10 at this point, right there behind Tyler Justice. Brandon, another one of our drivers that has his webcam here this evening. Let's take a look. I was trying to see what that was in the background. I couldn't tell if he's got a TV on or something back there. Saw something moving, but Brandon with the webcam on here this evening as we ride along with him.
99, a long-standing member here on these Friday nights.
He must be watching the broadcast as he normally does, or shouldn't say watching the broadcast. He usually has it up while he's racing, giving us a peace sign there while we had the cam up on him. So appreciate Brandon having that cam on. And right directly in front of him, these drivers of James Kaufman and Tyler Justice, they are going at it for that number 8 position, trading some barbs back and forth. And directly ahead of that battle, you can see Jamie Barkis has actually worked his way into the top 5 now, getting around Regis Clark. So put the boss man, well, one of the boss men, up into the top 5 for the first time this evening.
Well, one fell out, had to be replaced by the other. The 15 looking to make some moves here. Had a nice smooth pass around the inside of Regis Clark. And we'll be looking to do the same to the 24 of Levi McCarty as soon as the opportunity arises. James Goshen still trying to make way here to catch up to the 8 of Clark and put on some moves as the 25 of Kaufman stuck up on the outside. This might not be great 4-corner exit, but he holds on to it, keeping it just ahead of the 33 of Tyler Justice and still trying to make a pass on the 85 of Goshen.
Yeah, the 3 truck of Michael Kostick now back up into the top 10. Still sporting a little bit of damage on the side of that truck from that incident with Patrick Trabick, but doesn't look like it's hurt too bad. That is Goshen hard into the inside wall. Yellow flag is going to be displayed here. That was a pretty substantial hit to the front of that 85 truck. As we go back and take a look at the replay.
Looked like the 33 of Tyler Justice just pushing so hard to get around that 25 on the outside. Got right into the back bumper. Maybe Goshen getting a little bit loose down here out of the exit. Oh yeah, it was actually just aero packed on the back end of the 85, and then just a last second touch to really send him down into the wall from the 33.
Yeah, I'm with you, Logan. I thought that Tyler actually got into Goshen there to cause that incident, but I stand corrected on that. There was definitely a little aero pack there. You know, it's unfortunate because Goshen's been running really well, but you can really see it right there. He was already loose, and then he was headed into that inside wall before that contact ever took place. As we take one final look here, riding on board with the 33 of Tyler Justice, just wrapping that bottom. And you know, Goshen's one of those drivers, we've seen him loose a few times off of turn 4 this evening. So unfortunate end, well, shouldn't say end, he doesn't have a meatball flag, but unfortunate damage for the 85 of Goshen. As we've got a bit of a mixed bag of strategy here on pit road. About a 50-50 split here with our drivers on the lead lap as far as whether they are staying out or pitting. Jeremy Gardner and Levi McCarty were the highest running drivers that decided to come down pit road, take advantage of this caution to get fresh tires. But it looks like our top 5 of Mark Whitley, Jake Ellingson, Jamie Barkis, Regis Clark, and James Kaufman all electing to stay out here. So actually, I shouldn't even say it's a 50-50 split. It's about, about 2/3 really of the top of the lead lap drivers coming down pit road here. So a little bit of a mix-up, Logan.
I like this call, but at the same time, it's risky. You're going to have a couple drivers ahead of you. You know, we've only been 10 laps since we dropped the green flag, and that's exactly how it went the first half of this race. 10 laps brought out our first caution, then right there at lap, I believe 52 is when we saw our second caution. So it could happen again just here in the back half of the race, and this will play in favor of those drivers that did just come down pit road. And then, all bets are off from there. Once we're within about 15 laps to go here at Dover, it is all or nothing. These drivers will be making the moves that they might not feel comfortable making in the first 75 laps or so of the race.
Yeah, definitely going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Real quick, while we do have a moment, you see Jake Ellingson there on the front row with the Lincoln Tech colors on that truck. One of our other great league sponsors that we have here at Goat Locker that we definitely want to give a shout out to. Lincoln Tech's mission is to provide superior education and training to students for in-demand careers in a supportive, accessible learning environment. transforming students' lives and adding value to their communities. They're one of the largest automotive technology schools in the nation with 23 campuses, a title sponsor of the IndyCar series here at Goat Locker, and a very large partner of Goat Locker Racing. Appreciate all of their support. We're going to see if Jake Ellingson can put that Lincoln Tech truck up to that #1 spot here in just a moment.
He's got to time this jump just right as they're coming up to that Geico restart zone for potentially the last time of the evening. The 27 just a nose ahead. That could be an issue from race control. Looks like he's going to be clear of it, but Mark Whitley slingshots around with no problem and immediately out to 0.4 of a second over the 27 machine. But the battle is on here for third. Regis Clark on the outside, holding back that 42 of Jeremy Gardner. Jamie Barkis was looking to the inside line. Gardner slots in right behind, all over the back bumper. Clark a little bit loose on corner exit. Moves up the track a little earlier than expected, a little bit of a wiggle, but holds it down and keeps it ahead of the 42.
Jeremy Gardner, the first driver up there on those 10-lap fresher tires, trying to find a way around the 8 truck of Regis Clark. Regis doing a really nice job running that diamond line through there, kind of enters a little higher, cuts it down on exit, but Jeremy Gardner with the momentum back behind them. That's Warren Clayton. Holy cow, what a save out of that 117 truck. I thought for sure that was our next caution of the race. But man, what a save from Warren Clayton.
That it was, but unfortunately we did miss the pass from Jeremy Gardner around the 8 of Clark. We've got a shuffle just behind as Clark might have made contact with the wall there. Kaufman, though, in the middle of it. Jimmy Barkis ahead of him. What do you think about possibly taking it back for a quick replay of that, see how that broke down?
Yeah, we'll have to pull up the quick replay here to see. Well, that's a good question, Logan. What do you want to go to a replay of first? We had this 5-truck battle for position here between Jamie Barkis, Brandon Wallace, Kaufman, Daniel Parks, Michael Kostick there. And you mentioned it looked like they were doing a little conga line there down the front straightaway, just trying to slide all over the place. And yeah, quite a few trucks under a blanket for that. We also saw that big slide out of Warren Clayton that he was able to hang on to. Let's get another look at that as well here on the VSPEED instant replay. This is coming back to the restart zone, and it was the first lap back after that was when this big slide took place. And you don't really see saves like this very often that we're about to see, especially at Dover.
Yeah, certainly not. Dover with that extra banking on the front stretch. 9 degrees, remember. It is very difficult to recover that rear end sliding around. It'll be the next time by there for the 117, actually. It looks like even getting loose kind of in the middle of 1 and 2 even. So the tires maybe playing a bigger factor than we were expecting, even though they're just 10 to 15 laps old at this point.
Yeah, and especially with that wind as part of the weather that we were talking about. You can see it there. And man, I know he had just a slight assist from the wall there with that tap to the left rear, but no matter how you cut it, that is an absolutely phenomenal save. But back up front, we've got a new second place truck here. Jeremy Gardner found his way around Jake Ellingson and is quickly closing the gap down to Mark Whitley. So the strategy call as of right now already netting a dividend. Jeremy Gardner was in that 3rd spot before that caution flag came out and currently running about 2.5–3 of a second per lap faster than Mark Whitley. If this does end up going green, this could end up playing right into the hands of that driver of the 42 truck.
Now, the thing that Gardner will have to focus on coming up to the 77 will be making this pass as quickly and cleanly as possible, as McCarty takes a look to the inside of Ellingson down into 1 and 2, makes it look easy and clear before corner exit. That is what Gardner will need to accomplish if he wants to make this tire strategy really effective here. You do not want to spend long in the wake of Mark Whitley. The dirty air is not your friend as the 99. Brandon Wallace claims another position, working around the inside of Regis Clark. The 15 of Jamie Barkus right behind, trying to do the same.
Yeah, and really what we're seeing here are these fresher tires are paying dividends for the drivers that took them. Brandon Wallace on fresher tires, Tyler Justice up there, and another one of those drivers on the fresher tires is that 42 of Jeremy Gardner, utilizing the strategy game to get up here and put pressure on the 77 of Mark Whitley. By far the closest we have seen anyone to our leader here this evening. Jeremy Gardner with the speed advantage. He is packing a ton of air on the 77, gets him a little loose off of the exit of 4, but Whitley for now able to retain that lead.
This will be the first time that Whitley's had to experience this air packing on the rear end. Gardner even a little bit loose, slides up the track nearly into the wall out of turn 2. Really trying to make Whitley feels some type of way here as he's going to get moved up the track again. Gardner to the inside, side by side down into turn 1. This will be the first time that the lead has been handed over to a driver not in the 77. Jeremy Gardner takes it over on lap 82.
Yeah, and I can't help but think maybe at a certain point there, Mark Whitley just saying, man, you could have it right now, because I think he knew at that point, Jeremy Gardner with the tire advantage, with the speed advantage, and we had seen that aero packing a couple of times there with Whitley really loose off of turn 2. But you are indeed correct. For the first time this evening, we've got a new leader up at the front of the field as Jeremy Gardner has already pulled to a half a second lead. Let's take a look a little bit further back here. Battle for 7th starting to shape up between Regis Clark in the 8, Jamie Barkus in the 15. Also throw Craig Bontrager into that. He's starting to catch these drivers.
Those 3 drivers under about a half-second blanket of each other. So once the battle really gets side by side between Clark and Barkus, Bontrager will be able to lunge up right to it. But for now, we're going to have a couple laps before we get there. As Regis Clark sideways off of turn 4. Barkus able to hold it down a little bit better that time out of corner exit. But back up towards the front, Levi McCarty, another driver on those fresh tires, will be challenging Mark Whitley for the P2 position. Whitley again loose out of turn number 4. McCarty down to the bottom, side by side into 1. We saw it just a few laps ago. It looks nearly identical as what Jeremy Gardner just did. Levi McCarty takes over P2.
Yeah, it seems like the longer we get into this run, the more that tire advantage is going to pay off for those that did elect to come down pit road. So put Levi McCarty up to the number 2 position with that pass. The next highest driver that is on the fresher tires is going to be Tyler Justice in that number 5 spot. Last lap by, he was about 2/10 faster than Jake Ellingson, the next driver ahead of him for position. So definitely still some spots on offer for him and Brandon Wallace as well. Brandon putting in some really good lap times here as well with those fresher tires.
Tyler Justice with a 1.6 to 1.7 second disadvantage currently to Jacob Ellingson. Brandon Wallace at a second behind Justice. So we've got some sort of action here between the 8 and the 15. Barkus able to make it look easy as he gets down to the inside for turn 3. Bontrager not able to really recuperate some of that time, but he will gather up some of it now to just 0.3 of a second behind Clark. That will be for P8.
And for the last spot in the top 10, the 3 of Michael Kostick, the 71 of Daniel Parks. They have been going at it for a couple of laps here. Daniel Parks now looking to the inside of Michael Kostick. Probably still fighting that damage just a little bit on that truck from that earlier incident. Parks, Kostick really close there off of turn 4. Kostick able to maintain the position for now. And Daniel Park's going to continue to try to find a way around that Jack Daniels McLaren truck.
That 3 of Kostick does a fantastic job of squeezing the corner exit, not allowing the driver on the inside to get a maximum run off of the corner. Really battling and holding on to that spot as it is getting extra late into this race. We are now within 20 to go, Daniel.
We are indeed getting down to the late stages of this race. And, you know, we've talked about this split strategy on tires and everything. I kind of feel like at this point, the drivers that did come down on that previous caution, they've made the right decision, because even if we get a rash of cautions here, realistically, you're only going to pit one more time, and they have one more set of tires laying in the pits. So this could work out to be the winning race call for those that did come down, especially that 42 of Gardner. As we continue to watch this battle for the last spot here in the top 10, Daniel Parks just wearing out the rear bumper of that 3 truck of Caustic. Parks actually another one of our drivers that does have a webcam here this evening. Let's take a quick look in as he continues to try to find a way into the top 10 here this evening.
He's had multiple opportunities and just barely coming up short. Looks to the inside. You know, it's at this point almost advised to just back it down for a couple laps, take out some of the heat out of the tires, and then try that attack again with some lower tire temperatures. It might be able to stick a little bit better than your previous attempts, but it'll be just a little while here before we see it. The 3 of Caustic has gathered up some separation now, just about 0.2 of a second over Parks. And that's pretty well the closest battle in the field right now. We are single filed out all the way up to that battle for 10th.
Yeah, definitely starting to single file out just a little bit here. So while we have a quick moment, let's go ahead and thank one of our other awesome sponsors that we've got here at Goat Locker, and that is going to be InVets, one of our great supporters here that makes it possible for us to do what we do. And InVets aids in transitioning to civilian life, focusing on job placement and finding the right community for veterans and their families to ensure their success and happiness. They're a veteran nonprofit in Indiana with the goal of bringing veterans to that state to live and work. They are the title sponsor of our Sunday Xfinity series. So appreciate all of their support here. As you can see there, that battle for position getting real tight between Caustic and Parks. Parks with a big slide off of turn 4. And you mentioned it, Logan, you might want to back off, cool the tires down just a little bit. Well, I think Parks is going to have to cool them down just a little bit after that slide he just had.
Yeah, that slide will certainly bring the tires up a little bit too overheated. But here we go with some separation between the two. This will be the time to really just nail down your corner entry spot. You want to hit all of your marks as you are coming so close to the end of this one. Just 13 laps to go. 12 once we get the 42 of Gardner back around this time. It is lap 99. And the action has been all throughout the race. The late race call on the tires for the 42 of Gardner. The 24 of McCarty seemingly going to pay out here. Tyler Justice has closed up that gap to the 27 of Jacob Ellingson for P4. We might see that battle form up here before that checkered flag waves.
Yeah, something I've been keeping an eye on here as we go through the end of this run. Tyler Justice, as we've talked about, does have those fresher tires, also up 7 spots from where he started this evening. So solid run for that 33. And right now it seems like, even though Jake Ellingson does have the older tires, it seems like one lap Justice is a little faster, the next lap Ellingson a little faster. So 27 truck rather, doing a nice job of hanging on with that tire deficit. And right behind Tyler Justice, that 99 of Brandon Wallace, actually our biggest mover of the evening so far. Started in 19th, currently running in the 6th position. So that 99 truck been kind of quiet this evening, but really solid run working his way up through the field.
Another driver that shares a driver cam with us too. So, you know, I'd love to have him up there on the broadcast. Love to see him moving up through the field. A P6 here at Dover would just be a cap on a great Friday afternoon.
Indeed, it would be a nice way to cap off the evening here. And, you know, another battle that I've been kind of looking at here, not quite a battle just yet, but slowly but surely, Jake Ellingson has actually been catching that 77 truck of Mark Whitley for the 3rd position. Last lap by, Ellingson just about 1/10 of a second faster and slowly starting to pull that gap down. So with where we're at, just having 6-7 laps to go here, gonna need a little bit more than that to be able to get up there and get around Whitley. But, you know, we've seen it with the way that these trucks are handling, especially with that exit of turn 4, that, you know, it's not out of the realm of possibility. You get up there, put a little pressure on them, maybe force them into a mistake. You never know what you might be able to pull.
That is a big gap, however, to close up with only 6 laps remaining. Not quite sure the 27 will be able to piece it together to really challenge for that spot, but that would be the idea once you get to the back bumper. Pack the air on like we saw Gardner and McCarty both accomplish to get around that 77 of Whitley. You have to try to unsettle the truck without wrecking it.
And that is something that we have seen a few times this evening as we take a look back here again at the 3 truck of Michael Kostick. Had started to make up a little bit of ground on Craig Bontrager in the 49, lost a little bit there navigating the lap traffic, but you can see he was able to cut about 1/10 there through turns 1 and 2. It was just over 6/10 as he entered the turn, right about 1/2 a second as they exited. So this battle for the 9th position between Kostick and Bontrager not quite settled out as of yet. You can see Daniel Parks there in the background. He was putting the pressure on for that final top 10 spot. Just not quite able to recover after heating those tires up a few laps ago.
Craig Bontrager has done a fantastic job to hold on to the top 10 despite some wheel damage, as I've noticed here in the YouTube chat. Didn't realize he was still battling that so long into this race. So kudos to Craig Bontrager for keeping it together here for this very, what could feel like a very long race, only being 110 laps at Dover, as we've witnessed firsthand, has gone by very, very quickly, as we are now 2 to go, Daniel.
Yeah, and wheel damage, not ideal at any racetrack, but especially a place like Dover where you're already kind of fighting the handling of the vehicle. And, you know, this is probably one of the worst ones to have to fight that. So definitely a solid job by Craig Bontrager to be able to overcome that here this evening. But up front, the white flag is in the air for Jeremy Gardner. Played the strategy game to perfection, came down, took that last set of tires at the perfect time. Jeremy Gardner currently with about a 3.5 second lead. Driver number 42 is going to see the checkered flag, and Jeremy Gardner is your winner here this evening at Dover.
Levi McCarty able to come away with P2. Mark Whitley holds on to a top 3 finishing position. But what a drive and what a call from the 42 team. That is exactly what you like to see here, as Jeremy Gardner was in the lead here of the drivers not locked in with wins. We'll add his name to that column once that playoff bracket comes around.
Indeed, we will. And for a driver that didn't even know if he was going to make the field or not before this race this evening, incredible turnaround. You can see him burning it down there on the front straightaway, celebrating that well-earned victory here this evening. But we're going to take a quick commercial break. Thanks some of our awesome league sponsors while Jeremy continues his celebration. We will be right back with your full race finishing results, as well as a word from our top 3 finishers.
superior quality, ultimate protection, and the highest level of craftsmanship. We make our gloves for the hard worker that wakes up every morning and gives 110%. You deserve the highest quality protective gear that's going to work for you, day in, day out. We know it can be tough deciding what companies to trust for your hard-earned money. It's all in our name. We've mastered our craft to help you master yours. We make our gloves rugged, durable, and designed for you. Whatever the job is, we have you covered. We are your glove station.
A thriving job market and low cost of living, plus a wide range of veteran benefits, make Indiana the perfect place for veterans of the United States military to call home. InVets can help you find that home. We're an organization started by veterans to help former service members transition to civilian life in our state. InVets can help you find the community with the career opportunities, housing, schools, and amenities that fit your lifestyle. To learn more about InVets, visit us at invets.org today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Monster Mile, where we just witnessed Jeremy Gardner get his first win here this season. And we're going to give you your full race rundown to show you where your favorite driver finished off the race this evening. Starting in 8th, bringing it home in first is Big Daddy Jeremy Gardner, bringing home that win. Levi McCarty with a really strong run, finishing in the number 2 position. Mark Whitley rounding out your podium in 3rd here this evening. Jake Ellingson started 4th, finished 4th. Kind of a quiet evening for him. Tyler Justice finishing in the number 5 spot. Brandon Wallace, as we mentioned during the racing, biggest mover of the evening, up 13 spots to finish 6th. Jamie Barkus coming home in 7th. Regis Clark in 8th. Craig Bontrager finishing in 9th. And Michael Kostick rounding out your top 10.
Daniel Parks in the 71 takes home 11th, and another big mover of the night, Matt Knight, takes it from 23rd up 11 to P12. James Kaufman in the 25 takes home 13th, with Goshen in the 85 behind in 14th. Warren Clayton in the 117 gets 15th on the night. Stephen McDonald in the 68 takes home 16th. Early exit for the boss man, the 07 of Patrick Drabick with the DNF finishes in 17th. Charles Abert, the same moment, takes home P18. Eldon Stewart just a little bit before that in the 1 machine winds up in 19th, with George Jewell in the 36, rounding out our top 20. Just a few more drivers here will be Jamie Mullins in the 66. In 21st, Michael Seymour in the 37 takes home 22nd. Another big shout out to Jamie Libke in the 000, but that's just race control. Thank you, Jamie Libke, for taking up that role here tonight for the SAVE22 Truck Series at Dover.
And that is your full race rundown, but let's go ahead and get a word with our race winner. That's Big Daddy Jeremy Gardner. This is Daniel Logan up the booth. You got us?
Gotcha.
Well, hey, man, number one, your fuel man didn't cost you the race tonight. So congrats on that. I was, I ribbed you about it in Discord earlier, so I got to just rib you about it again. But, man, what a strategy call to get up there and get the win. Did you kind of have it in your mind that if there was a quick caution like that, that you were going to just try to maybe do the opposite of what Mark Whitley does, or were you just kind of reacting there?
Well, to start with, your little comment from earlier kind of drove me to drive the way I did. But honestly, before I even talk about the race, I'm lucky to even get in tonight. I went to log in and my internet wasn't having it. I just got in with, I don't know, a minute left to go in qualifying. So thankfully I made it in tonight. But yeah, man, I figured 12 lap freshers I would actually just go by. I was kind of chilling the first, 10 laps. I was just going to let them run. And I just decided to start pushing and hoping it would stay green because I've been bit by I don't know how many late race cautions. So, man, I was pretty nervous the last, 10 or 15 laps, but thankfully it played out. I mean, that race went pretty smooth. I think, 3 cautions or whatever. But, I mean, overall, man, to have that clean of a race at Dover is pretty impressive. I know it was hell on exit coming out of 4 tonight. It was super, super loose. So
a lot of drivers getting extremely loose out of turn 4, but you managed it the best out of all of them, coming away with the win after 29 laps led. We already mentioned a great call on the strategy, but we saw a lot of, mid-run speed coming out of the 42 truck. Where were you finding your success there, at the 42 lap margin of a run?
Just trying to be me, just try not to be over aggressive short run. I'm not a short run guy, but just lifting early, just cruising through the center of the corner. Like I said, it was super loose. Like 1 and 2 was kind of tight, but 3 and 4, it was a battle to keep hold of the truck. So I was just trying to keep it smooth, lift early, and just be kind of gentle on the throttle all night. But I mean, it played off. I started pushing there towards the end, and I seemed like I was catching everybody. I would have liked to actually seen how that played out if we'd have stayed green. So.
Well, man, really solid run and, great strategy call like we were talking about. I know you said my comment earlier kind of drove you to drive the way you did tonight, so you're welcome for the extra motivation. I'm going to give you a little bit more motivation for next race, too, because I love statistics. You're 1 win behind Pat now, tying him for the all-time Friday Night Truck Series wins record. So that'll give you a little bit of extra motivation to go out there and try to repeat next week at Rockingham. But before we let you go tonight, Jeremy, who you want to thank, any sponsors or shout outs?
Well, damn, I got to reverse what I said to Pat the other night. Hell, I got to do better now. So, but man, Pat and Jamie at JLR, appreciate everything them guys do for the series. Also, Pat, he's going through some stuff right now, so prayers for him. Love you, buddy, if you're watching this. Lincoln Tech, my guys at SAVE22. Premier Racing Setups. Of course, y'all guys for putting on the broadcast. I can't wait to go back and watch it. Yeah, we'll see y'all next week at Rockingham.
All right. Well, congrats again on the win. And that was Jeremy Gardner, our race winner. Let's go ahead and get a word with our second place finisher, and that is Levi McCarty. Levi, really solid run tonight. Started second, finished second. You were up there in the top 5 pretty much the entire night. What did you need to be able to get up there and try to mount a challenge to Mark Whitley and later on Jeremy Gardner?
Yeah, just another solid run. 2 second-place finishes in a row without a lap led. I don't know if you can do that if you tried, to be honest with you. But I honestly don't know what I needed for Whitley. Gardner and I mean, we both pitted there at the end, and the way that the traffic kind of shook out, I got mired behind a couple trucks there for a little bit too long, or I think I might have had a chance earlier in the run. But yeah, just another solid run. Try to keep stacking these up and, kind of fly under the radar and see what happens.
Well, flying under the radar is exactly what you're doing, is you will now take over the top spot of drivers on points, but not locked in with wins. So that was Jeremy Gardner previously, but here you are, like you said, with 2 P2 finishes, 0 laps led. You're doing a great job through the season, holding your own. Now, what can we expect in the back half of this regular season as we're inching so close to these playoff races? Just a few weeks remaining. We've got another little over a mile track, and then we go to a road course in a couple weeks. What are your thoughts about the remaining of the schedule?
Love the schedule. A lot of good tracks for us. Not really a road guy, but I think I could have a decent finish at Watkins Glen. A really fun track. Yeah, just gotta put it together. I mean, it's been a fun season so far, a weird season in the aspect that, a couple of seasons ago I won 3 or 4 races, and then I could sit here and tell you that I guarantee I'm gonna win one, but it just stout competition, and each season is very different. So yeah, just we'll give it all we got. Maybe put a little extra practice in, and our day will arrive hopefully.
Well, one thing about it, you keep putting yourself in those positions, running up in the top 5 and in those podium positions, you'll be able to cash in on one of them. We've seen you do it before. You got plenty of speed to make it happen. But again, solid run tonight. Congrats on the second place. And before we let you go, who you want to thank for it?
Appreciate it, guys. Definitely thank you for the broadcast. One of my favorite things of my week is going back and watching them and reliving the action. So thank you. Jam Printing and Promotions, SAVE22, huge shout out to those guys for putting on the series. Alexander PCs, B&H Racing, appreciate those guys, and Fairfield Motorsports.
Right, well, there you have it from our second place finisher, Levi Bacardi, and we'll catch you next week at Rockingham.
Thanks, guys.
And let's go ahead and bring up the third of our podium finishers, and that is Mark Whitley. Mark, this is Daniel and Logan. Logan, I'm sorry, I called you by the wrong name. This is Daniel and Logan up in the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, really solid night. Started first, led pretty much the entire race up until that last caution with the split strategy there. Obviously hindsight's 2020, and with the fresher tires, that played out there to be the right call. Did you consider pitting on that caution when the field kind of split there, or was it always kind of your mind to try to keep the track position?
Honestly, when it first came out, and pitting wasn't even in my mind. I was just thinking, well, we went 10 laps. I'm like, that's a decent amount, but I'm like, it seemed like we were getting, a caution every 10 to 15 laps or so. So it was like, we only had 2 more sets. I'm like, I figured, staying out was probably the safe call. And then as soon as they came down pit road, I think Jeremy was running third. As soon as I saw him turn down pit road, I was like, oh, that was a mistake. I should have pitted, because I know a couple other guys came. There wasn't too many cars still in the lead lap at that point, and I just knew that at 10 laps, I was pretty much begging for a caution ever since we went green. I hate to give it up, like lose one like that, because I felt like we had probably one of the fastest trucks out there, and it's just one of those situations where 10 lap tires, you can't do anything. You're just sitting there, sitting in the seat, watching them drive by you and just waving and hoping you can have something to catch you back up. Cause it was pretty depressing the last like 20 laps of that race. And I'm just sitting there like, can't do anything. And you're just sitting there and you have to just sit with your decision pretty much.
Well, not to rub salt in the wound, but you were indeed the fastest truck on the track by well over 1/10 of a second. The only driver into the 22-second bracket. So congratulations on that, at least. Now, I'm curious, we saw it once Gardner and McCarty were able to get to the back bumper, started packing on some of that dirty air on the rear of your truck. Just how much of an effect was that? We didn't see that for the first half of the race. Nobody got quite close enough to challenge you. And then it seemed like from there, it really started to unsettle the truck.
Yeah, especially like I said, they were on the fresher tires, so they could just roll in the corner a lot faster. And I was at that point, I was driving it about as hard as I could, putting it on the limit, and just hoping that packing dirty air or trying to cut, just make it where they have to work as hard as possible. And I was really just hoping that someone back there was going to spin out and we were going to get a caution. I can come and get fresh tires and stay in front of them. But yeah, especially driving it, I was driving it way harder when they were coming to me. And then I was just trying to hang on for all I could at that point. And getting on the rear like that, it definitely made it more loose, especially off of 4. I think my spotter said it was like 22-mile-an-hour winds going straight into turn 4. So it was already, that turning's already treacherous, and it just made it even more crazy than driving it on the limit like that. I don't know how I didn't bust my butt, honestly, a couple of times, because I was sitting there dirt tracking it off some of those corners when I was trying to hold them off.
Well, we know it's not the result that you were hoping for with the pole, with the laps led, but one thing about it, you were already the series lap leader coming into this race and actually had a 100 lap gap over the second highest driver. So only extending that tonight and establishing yourself as one of the weekly favorites here in this series. So another really strong run, another podium finish. And before we let you go, who do you want to thank for?
First and foremost, Brantley over there, Harpoon Design. He designs all my paint jobs. He does a great job. He's also spotting for me all my races. So if you need a paint job, check him out over at harpoondesign.com. He's got a little form you can fill out. Also, Vector, he's always hanging out in the Discord, and I appreciate him watching these races. He's not a racer himself, but he always tunes in, so I appreciate that. My other sponsor, Jawa.gg, they're the #1 online gaming marketplace by gamers, for gamers. If you need a new upgrade or a whole new PC, they got you covered. One of the best marketplace on the web. All the sponsors here at the league, iRacing, MK Fire Design, Sim Motion, Invets, let me think, Lincoln Tech, Love Station, the list goes on and on, SAVE22. Without all them guys, the league wouldn't be here. I'm glad, I've said this a number of times, and I'm glad I found this league. It's been fun. All the guys here are awesome. All the league mission is amazing. Can't believe I'm able to race here week in and week out, and hopefully continue what we've been on a good roll here, and maybe a couple spots better next week.
Right. Well, we will see you next week at Rockingham, and congrats again on the podium.
Thanks, guys.
And there you have it from our top 3 finishers. You know, Logan, just any final thoughts on what we saw here this evening at Dover?
You know, I think the drivers we got to talk to nailed it. You know, this was a very clean race. It's very uncommon here at Dover, but the Truck Series as a whole, this entire season, putting on some fantastic racing. Looking forward to seeing what we can do over the next couple of weeks. I'm really looking forward to watching that race at Watkins Glen, see how these drivers can navigate those twists and turns up there in northern New York. It is going to be a fantastic show there. But we've got Rockingham to get through first. That'll be a fun one for certain. We thought Dover was tough. Rockingham, it's even tougher. The bumps there are treacherous, so watch out as you dive down into turn 3 or turn 1. It's not going to be fun, but we'll see all that action next week here on Friday.
Indeed we will. It is definitely a challenging racetrack. As you can see there, Thunder Alley down the back straightaway. Next week, race number 6 at Rockingham. Same time, same channel here for the SAVE22 Truck Series. But folks, that is going to do it for our coverage this evening. So for Patrick Drabick, Jamie Barkis, and everyone at Goat Locker Racing, for everybody at VSPEED, Adam Baker, Bradley Cooper, Morgan Cook, Eddie Smith, our producer Lucas Lyons, the camera angles courtesy of Dougie Beard, and on behalf of my co-commentator Logan Threlkeld, thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate you spending your Friday evening with us, and we will see you next week at The Rock.